Thanks to EckhartsLadder for providing today's episode. If you're not already familiar with his amazing channel, he makes almost daily videos on Star Wars, both canon and legends, Halo, Warhammer, and more. Be sure to stick around after this episode because we'll be announcing our very first charity livestream event. But until then, enjoy an analysis of Post-Endor eras of Imperial power by EckhartsLadder.
The Battle of Endor saw not only the destruction of a Sith power which had been building in secret for thousands of years, but also the fracturing of Imperial rule throughout the galaxy. However, though never reobtaining its former glory, the Empire would nonetheless survive in various different forms, primarily as antagonists to the New Republic, the nascent but now dominant political force throughout the galaxy. My name is Justin. I run EckhartsLadder, a YouTube channel devoted to science fiction and in particular Star Wars. Today we dig deep into the Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe to better understand the post-Endor eras of Imperial power. Largely understood as lasting from the Battle of Endor in 4 ABY to the re-emergence of Thrawn in 9 ABY, the defining aspect of the first post-Endor era was interfactional conflict. As the New Republic struggled to establish a functional government responsible for thousands of star systems, Imperials across the galaxy, now without central leadership or a unifying force, began carving out their own domains, seizing the starships, soldiers, and other military assets under their previously legitimate command. These new warlords jostled with each other and the New Republic for control of resources and systems. Though warlords did exist until Imperial reunification and beyond, it was this time period which saw the most numerous and powerful independent splinter groups. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of minor and major warlords, far too many to chronicle here, and the power of a warlord was largely determined by naval strength. Imperial Admiral Zinj, who had been overseer of the Quelli Oversector, rose to immediate prominence after Endor due to the sheer size of his territory and his control of the Brawl, an Executor-class superstar destroyer which he later renamed the Iron Fist. Zinj's territory grew so large that the New Republic was forced to treat it as a quasi-legitimate government, and his presence in the Galactic Northeast seriously limited the growth of other warlord factions, including the Greater Maldred and the Pentastar Alignment. For some time, and really until his death, Zinj's faction was the second most powerful force in the entire galaxy. Eventually, Zinj's growing power and his natural aggressive tendencies caused him to attack and aggravate the New Republic directly. In response, Solo Command was formed, a dedicated fleet with the sole purpose of killing the warlord. And after a long campaign, Zinj was finally defeated by a combined New Republic Capes Consortium fleet at the Battle of Dathomir. Another major warlord during this era was Azani Isard. After assassinating the last legitimate aspect of Imperial power, the ruling council, Isard took control of Coruscant, otherwise known as Imperial Center. From there, she terrorized the galaxy with the Lusankya, an Executor-class superstar destroyer and a mobile reconditioning base. Eventually, she would cede a poisoned Coruscant to the New Republic and would fight a long but ultimately unsuccessful campaign against Rogue Squadron. Like the other warlords of this era, Isard would ultimately fail to consolidate her power in a meaningful way and would never achieve anywhere near the same success as Warlord Zinj. Other major players during this time were Sate Pestage, General Delvardis, and countless others. In 9 ABY, as the New Republic began to beat back the various Imperial groups across the galaxy, THRAWN'S reappeared from the unknown regions and waged a devastating campaign against the galaxy. THRAWN'S, otherwise known as Thrawn, was one of 12 Imperial Grand Admirals. A single Grand Admiral represented an extraordinarily grave threat, and Thrawn was arguably the greatest military mind to ever exist. Unlike the many self-serving warlords, Thrawn's command was seen as righteous and legitimate, and his return saw a degree of unification between many warlord factions. Still, the Chiss possessed only limited assets and was forced to rely on his incredible gifts of insight and planning. Thrawn immediately began procuring assets and waged a war on two fronts against the New Republic, both sowing confusion and discord within Republic High Command and winning several major naval victories. Thrawn's unparalleled ability ability led many in the galaxy to believe him unbeatable. His unique use of technology, esoteric science, and his partnership with the Dark Jedi clone Jorah Sabayoth demoralized his enemies and caused hundreds of systems to flock back to the Empire. The campaign ended in the Inner Rim. Thrawn, who had tricked the New Republic into a trap at the Bilbringi shipyards, was assassinated in the midst of battle by his Noghri bodyguard Rook. Whether he would have won the Battle of Bilbringi is uncertain due to the intervention of the Smugglers' Alliance, but either way, Thrawn brought the New Republic to the brink and represented the most serious threat to the ruling government until the Yuuzhan Vong. Almost immediately after the death of Thrawn, a mysterious entity began summoning Imperial assets to the Deep Core, one of the remaining areas in the galaxy where the Empire maintained a strong presence, with various fortress worlds, fleets, shipyards, and research stations still operating. The source of this message was revealed to be Palpatine, his spirit having fought its way back from the afterlife and now inhabiting a new clone body. The Emperor had been watching the remnants of the Empire for some time, both disappointed by the disloyalty shown by his subjects and the various infighting, but also impressed by the recent actions of Thrawn. However, his choice to not intervene during the Thrawn campaign was a conscious one. His own megalomania and desire for absolute power dictated that Thrawn must die. Palpatine also used the distraction caused by the war to grow more powerful without Republic oversight. Palpatine's reemergence unified the Warlord factions far more than Thrawn's had, and his forces were soon supplemented by thousands of capital ships and innumerable Imperial officers. Using cutting-edge, never-before-seen superweapons, including the World Devastators, the Galaxy Gun, and the Eclipse Dreadnoughts, as well as dark side-imbued technology, Palpatine initiated Operation Shadow Hand in 10 ABY, recapturing Coruscant as well as thousands of other star systems, effectively rebalancing the galactic scales of power. However, Palpatine was not interested in recreating the formal rule. He had something much more sinister planned, a dark empire, where control of the universe was propagated not only through weapons of war, but the dark side of the Force itself. He was, however, killed for a final time during the Battle of Endor, which also saw the destruction of the Galaxy Gun, the Fortress World of Biss, his Eclipse II Dreadnought, and much of his fleet. The overwhelming and absolute loss experienced by the Empire during the Dark Empire crisis weakened Imperial powers moving forward, crippled most of the remaining warlords, and marked the beginning of the end. Not only were countless assets lost through the campaign, but several important individuals, including Artus Kane of the Pentastar Alignment, were killed in battle. As I mentioned, the years after Operation Shadow Hand saw a reduction in Imperial strength throughout the galaxy. The New Republic now largely faced non-Imperial threats, including the Duskon League, and I would argue that the Empire spent more time fighting each other for remaining resources than waging any sort of effective campaign against the rebels. In 11 ABY, Imperial Admiral Natasi Dalla returned to the galaxy at large, having spent years guarding the secret Maw installation. Dalla hated the New Republic, but was also disgusted by how the Empire had totally dissolved into civil war in less than a decade. Working with former Thrawn second-in-command Gilad Pellaeon, Dalla contacted 12 prominent warlords and organized a meeting at Toss Beacon. Although her goal had been a peaceful reunification of the Empire, old rivalries and hatred were clearly too entrenched for the groups to work together moving forward. Dalla instead murdered the warlords, seizing control of their now leaderless factions and creating a unified Imperial remnant. This remnant was seen by many as the final chance to restore Imperial power and greatness to the galaxy. Dalla reinvigorated idle allies, effectively managed existing assets, and began rebuilding the Imperial Navy. The remnant also restarted the Galactic Civil War, launching lightning strikes against the New Republic, using a unique fleet of Victory Star Destroyers known as the Crimson Command to devastate worlds and military installations. However, a failed attack on Luke Skywalker's Jedi Praxium on Yavin, which saw the loss of dozens of ships, including the Night Hammer and Executor Super Star Destroyer, forced Dalla to step back from the remnant, relinquishing command to Admiral Pellaeon. Unfortunately, by this point, the Empire had been grinded down by years of fighting, and unlike the New Republic, was not replacing lost ships or improving on technology. This meant that even a single unified Imperial remnant faction was reduced to, at best, a quasi-legitimate government with a few sectors in the Outer Rim. After a series of losses against the strong New Republic military, formal fighting slowed to almost nothing, and in 19 ABY, Fleet Admiral Pellaeon approached the New Republic to negotiate peace. The Galactic Civil War was formally ended during the Kamas crisis. The Empire was able to maintain full autonomy as well as a portion of space, and systems were free to join either the Empire or the New Republic. But any hopes for a return to Imperial greatness were now gone. The New Republic and the Empire would cooperate moving forward, especially during the Yuuzhan Vong crisis, and would join as a single government with the creation of the Galactic Federation of Free Alliances. And that ends my history of Imperial power after the Battle of Endor. A new empire would emerge with the fall of the GFFA. However, I see that sufficiently separate from the prior empire to not warrant inclusion in this video. Now that you've watched this video, make sure to head over to EckhartsLadder to check out an overview and history of the UNSC Navy produced by the Templin Institute. If you're interested in Star Wars Legends and enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my channel. I focus a lot on this post-Endor era and create videos pretty much every day. Thanks so much for the Templin Institute for allowing me to talk to you guys. As always, may the Force be with you.
Thanks again to EckhartsLadder for today's video. If you enjoyed his content, you'll find a link to his channel in the description and at the end of this video. But first, on July 21st, the Templin Institute will begin Operation Esperanza, our first ever charity livestream as part of Extra Life. Together with the Children's Miracle Network, Extra Life raises money for 170 children's hospitals across Canada and the United States. Join us for a marathon 12-hour stream on our Twitch channel, where we'll be playing Stellaris Invicta, have a few rounds of Colonial Cup with Space Dock, and community games with our viewers to raise money for the San Jorge Children's Foundation. Every cent will go towards helping children and their families in Puerto Rico who are still affected by Hurricane Maria. You can find links to our Extra Life profile and to learn more about Extra Life in the description.